Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Courtney and I am a flower preservationist and business educator sharing all of my tips and tricks for building and growing your flower preservation business. I am so excited that we are here today and even more excited about what we are going to talk about. Fall is officially here and that means pumpkin everything, flannel attire, and cooler temperatures. Unless you're in Texas like me, then you're probably still sweating a little, but those cooler temperatures are definitely around the corner. So what does that have to do with working with resin? Stay tuned to find out. It's a known fact that resin requires specific temperatures to be able to cure correctly, preferably warmer temperatures. So as we enter into the fall season and start seeing temperatures cool down, we need to start thinking about our work environment and whether or not it's time to winterize your space. So what should you be looking for? How do you know when it's time to start changing your procedures when you're working with your resin? Simply put, when you start turning down the AC in your home due to the cooler weather is when you should start paying attention to the temperature in your room. Now I know the temperature change varies drastically across the country, so I can't really tell you like specific dates when you need to change. And for the sake of this video, I'm just going to go through the changes that I personally go through, and you can implement the changes as needed wherever you are in your area and as your temperatures change too. Now, during the summer, we usually keep our home around 78 degrees, and that is the perfect temperature for our workroom while using our particular resin as according to the recommendations of our resin company. And we don't have to worry about heating up or cooling down the space because it's like perfect. Now this past week, we finally left the 90s and are seeing temperatures in the 70s. So we've moved our AC down to 72, which means our workroom will now only get to that temperature. So it's no longer perfect. So the first part of our winterization process is to turn our space heater on in that room when we wake up in the morning so that the temperature of the room is at the correct temperature by the afternoon in order for us to pour. Once it's at temperature, we'll turn it off and allow the room to cool naturally until the next morning when we will turn the heater on again. And this will be our new daily morning routine. Now the next part of the process begins when the house temperature starts to cool into the low 60s at night. When this starts happening, we will actually allow our resin to cure longer than normal. The resin we use typically cures for the next pour within 24 hours, but because the temperature of the room will be so cold, the resin will actually take longer to cure, so we will begin pouring every other day versus every day. Now I know you're rolling your eyes at that, having to spend twice the amount of time to make a piece, but I've got some good news. Because the room will be cooler, you can actually pour a little bit more resin in each layer than you have been, and I'll give you an example. In the winter, I can pour 24 ounces of resin into this 9-inch hexagon mold. Shout out to Modern Mold Shop. But in the summer, I can only pour 16 ounces of resin. And if I pour 24 ounces in the summer, then that resin will actually begin to flash cure because it's too deep of a layer, which creates too much heat too fast. So even though I have to wait 2 more days for pouring, I'm actually pouring more resin so it evens out in the end. Now time out for a second. Before you go changing the amount of resin you pour based on the amount of change that I personally made, this did take me a bit of testing to find out the right amount of resin that I could pour. This is 100% based on the type of resin that you use and how you have your environment set up. So you may need to do a little testing on your own to figure out how much you can actually do. One last thing I want to mention, make sure that you have a reliable temperature gauge in your workspace. This is one that I use, and I have mine on the table that I use to actually mix my resin so that I know the exact temperature of the room at all times. Once I notice the room temperature isn't getting warmer than 73 by lunchtime, I know it's time to get the heater out. And I've got a link to this particular temperature gauge I use in the description below if you'd like to get one for yourself. I've also linked the space heater that we use for our room in the description as well, and it's also an air purifier, so it works double duty. Now if you found this video to be helpful, make sure that you give it a like, and if you're not already, hit that subscribe button to be notified of my next video. I share new videos every week and would love to see you here next time. And as always, if you ever have any questions about what I discussed today or want to learn something specific, let me know in the comments and I can create a video for you. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope you have a great week, and I'll see you next time.